Music Consumption Accessibility Video Series Part 2. Some key definitions before we get started. Streaming services. According to PC Mag Encyclopedia, a streaming service is an online provider of entertainment, music, movies, etc., that delivers the content via an internet connection to a subscriber's computer, TV, or mobile device. Speech synthesis is the artificial production of the human voice. Now that we're done with definitions, let's move into today's video. Listening to recorded music wasn't always the primary way to consume music. It wasn't until the innovation of recording technologies, which began in 1887, where you see the slow rise and progression of recording technologies and artists using said technologies. Up until this point, music had primarily relied on musicians using sheet music of composers to recreate the sounds of artists and in a live music setting. As the world has digitized, so too has the music industry through platforms such as Spotify and Apple Music, which has seen the rapid decline of brick-and-mortar stores and the rapid growth of streaming services. Fast forward to today, where music streaming services dominate the market. According to Statista in 2019, the total revenue of the recorded music industry amounted to $21.5 billion US. Streaming made up 56% of this figure, bringing in $11.9 billion globally. By looking at the rise and popularity of streaming services, it's apparent audiences want easy ways to consume music. However, with all that revenue made from artists' work, streaming platforms such as Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music have come under fire, as people have been asking, where is the money going if artists get as little as 0.004 cents per stream on most streaming platforms? An article by Rolling Stone addresses this question by looking at the analytics of the music industry, both before and after streaming services entered the market, and concluded, thanks to the technology of streaming and huge investment from the likes of Spotify and Apple Music, the recorded music business is once again printing money. Who gets to keep that money at the end of the day, though, is a big bone of contention, as it always has been. Rolling Stone simply puts that streaming platforms are holding a larger percentage of money from artists than ever before, but they're making artists much more money too. It would be rude of me to talk about music consumption and not at least briefly touch on live music, which is a can of beans I won't be fully unpacking in this video, as I feel it needs its own video to do its justice. But there has always been the option of live music. Live music has dramatically changed, even in the last 10 years, with the introduction of technologies to enhance the live experience. This is seen with additions like jumbo screens, music amplification, lighting, and instrumentation, to name a few. Live music was the first way people began consuming music, as it wasn't until the last 100 years we see music begin to be recorded. So what happens when something like COVID happens? How does that change how we consume live music as part of our broader music consumption? That answer is digital. Looking at how COVID-19 has impacted the music consumption industry offers some insight into how the future of music consumption may look. Due to COVID-19 and limitations that have been put on artists and fans alike, has seen the rise of digital spaces, more specifically live streaming, as an alternative to still having that live music experience. As stated by KW Grant, throughout the month of March, referring to 2020, the number of users engaging in live streaming surged across platforms like Twitch, Instagram, and YouTube. Viewership on video sharing platform Twitch, specifically their music and performance arts category, rose by 524%, from an average of 92,000 viewers to 574,000 viewers. Looking at the shift in trends that COVID caused offers insight into what the futures of music consumption may hold, as innovation and adaptability becomes more and more frequent in today's music industry. COVID-19 has also allowed musicians to become resourceful and look for the alternative digital methods to allow their music to be heard and consumed by audiences. I feel that this has, in a way, fast-tracked the music industry's slow migration towards digital spaces and the potential they hold. Looking forward to the futures of music consumption, there are three lenses I've used when addressing what the futures may look like. These are the potential, preferred, and likely futures, which will highlight what I think the possible futures of music consumption may look like in the next 50 years. As stated by Wendell, in order to understand where we're going in the future, we need to understand our past and present first. This leads me to my first prediction: the democratization of music creation. And what I mean by this is the innovation of AI tools and voice synthesis into music creation technology, allowing creatives on a global scale to produce high standard music, regardless of things such as location or facilities. Due to the affordability, you would also see a change in the industry as it goes from mass consumption to mass creation. My second prediction is the likely prediction, and is best described by Sage Audio. As our communication becomes increasingly influenced and dependent on technology and releasing music becomes easier, many people will use music as a means not to create a career, but as a social endeavour or form of communication, suggesting that the relationships between music and technology will change what it means to make music, as it begins to be created for the purposes of interacting with friends and social groups, and not as a career or solely to be considered art. This is already something I've noticed taking place on platforms such as TikTok, where you see a different utility for music and the ways it's consumed. As stated by D. Pastakov, apps like TikTok allow listeners to use and repurpose music in unique, collaborative ways, which breaks down barriers between genres and between creators. This leads me to my third prediction. When researching the rise of streaming services, I made sure to make a note of how this could affect the future of music. Which brings me to my third futures prediction, the likely prediction. My prediction is that music follows the trend of prioritizing revenue than the art or song itself. Looking at predictions made from other artists, it's apparent there is a shift in how songs are made now. What I mean by this is prioritizing revenue. Streaming services pay roughly 0.004 cents per stream of an artist's song. In theory, 61-minute songs would earn 60 more times the revenue than one 60-minute song. This is already proving to have an effect on the music industry, as we see songs typically getting shorter and with catchy intros often resembling the chorus. This is because Spotify only counts a stream after the first 30 seconds of the song is played. These are some of the many ways that I've seen musicians change the way they create music to best serve streaming services and the platform they provide. If you're interested in this topic, you can find more information on my blog, which is linked below, or you might want to check out part 1 of this essay series, which looks at the future of music production, which is also linked below. For now, have fun, stay safe, and goodbye.